Good morning, traders out there. Welcome back. It's another day in the hot seat. And I'll tell you what, man, what a wild ride yesterday. One of the biggest moves ever in the NASDAQ, and off of all Trump comments, like I've mentioned. This is the market of tape bombs, whether it be on the upside or the downside. And in this case, we get an upside rocket move there with one mention, right? Well, today we'll talk all about what's going on in the markets. We'll talk about CPI. We'll take a look at will that affect the market? It looks like we're having the classic fake out to the upside right now. SPY starting to drop, so we could see some pullback. Let's get to today's playbook action. We got a lot to talk about. We need to get to the sunrise report, and I need Michael to come on and calm me down because yesterday I missed again one of the biggest trades of, I would say, even my career. 2 days in a row, just slightly going a little bit oversized in the VXX and not being able to win on both sides, right? You guys saw it right here. Yesterday was trying to short the VIX. It had one of the biggest moves ever, down 30% yesterday. So we'll talk a little bit more about that during the show. Let's get to the playbook. Let's see what we can come up with today and maybe get some cash on our sides. Let's get to it. All right, first one up on the playbook is going to be Apple, and I'm looking for Apple to decline here, and it's already falling. So sometimes it's just like that, guys. I can see a trade in the pre-market, and it's already starting to crack. The CPI actually got this to start to bounce back, but now we're starting to break down this 191. I'm looking for us to come back towards the 185 zone. That's going to be into this spot here. We'll see if we can get to that spot right out the gates and just pull back into that area. Of course, Apple still not out of the runway. No clear runway for Apple yet, as of course, further tariffs were put on China, giving more pressure on Apple. They're going to have to figure something out. If these tariffs stick, they can't handle the moves that are happening right now. And of course, what would happen to iPhones? The price would absolutely skyrocket, guys. So they need to start figuring out what they're going to do here. I think Apple is going to have to maybe consider really leaving China for manufacturing, which would thus also increase the iPhone cost. So they're in a little bit of a predicament here. We'll see what happens with Apple. Will it come crashing down? The VIX yesterday talked about how I was looking for a potential short after a big rally. Well, that's exactly what we got. A big rally on the VIX and then a big breakdown on the VIX. Now we'll get a little bit of some mixed game. I think we could still see a little bit of a pop followed by a drop towards the end of the day. So I'll be looking to see if the markets rally towards the end of the day versus the beginning part. We'll see what happens, guys. I think it's going to be a little bit of some back and forth action, but hey, I'll tell you one thing. The Bears are caught by surprise. The Bulls are, of course, pounding the chest, and we'll see what happens in the market today. Here's one to look at if you're in the bull camp, guys. And I wanted to give a bull camp side one, and that's Dell. Dell, why? Because this thing got absolutely destroyed in a couple of days. This thing went down 32%. It's already bounced back about 20%. We'll see if it's making its way right back towards 100. So, of course, you guys can take a look at some of the technology names, but some of the computer system names were some of the hardest down hit areas. And why? Because tariff exposure, right? I'm sure a lot of these Dell laptops are not created right here in the US. So we'll see what happens out there as Dell gets a little bit of a bounce back. $80, very important. And can you break back above 83 and start to make your way to 85? We'll see what happens there in Dell Technologies. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about in the Sunrise Report. We can get to, of course, the CPI report. Looks like I'm getting breaking news from Amazon CEO Andy Jassy saying that he believes sellers will pass increased tariff costs onto the consumer. That's exactly what I expect also. So here you guys have it, and more battle about what's going on in Amazon, as a lot of the small businesses will have pressures. Their only option is their price costs more, so they're going to charge you more. Well, that's not good news for what? For inflation outlook. So, hey, couple comments there from CEO Andy Jassy. Amazon, We'll see how Amazon's actually moving on this. Let's see if it's actually getting a move on this report. Definitely something that I think is a negative for Amazon, but we'll have to wait and find out, guys. Amazon had gone down to 160 from the 240. So I think this is something definitely we got to keep an eye out for. Today, we'll see the reactions and what happens to China right after we retaliated off of their retaliation. Will there be another retaliation from China? Will they push the tariffs further? Or will we actually go into a real trade war? It seems like we're there. We'll just have to wait and find out what happens from China. I think that's the next thing that we're looking at. If China starts backing down, this market's back at all-time highs. But if China plays hardball and really sells out on those treasuries and keeps putting pressure on the U.S., we'll have to wait and find out who bends first. Is it Trump or is it China? All things to be asked. And I think Trump bent first yesterday, but we'll save that conversation for the show. All right, guys, and oh, sorry about that. I accidentally cut myself out when I wanted to make myself big. And of course, stick around today, guys, as we'll be announcing the winners from the competition. And there were some great ones. Even traders that were able to get their funded account in 3 days there. So shout out to those traders that were able to accomplish that. And I'm opening a new eval today. So stick around, guys. We'll be getting after it. I think it's time to get after the markets. We'll wait to find out what we can get after. Let's get to the sunrise report. We'll get to what stocks are moving, why they're moving. And then, of course, when Michael comes on, we'll announce the winners. 9 a.m. Guys, stick around. We got a lot more for you guys right here. It's Trade the Pool. Let's keep it moving into the sunrise report. All right, traders, let's talk about, of course, the sunrise report as the tariff confusion returns, as, of course, stock futures are under pressure this morning following Wednesday's epic rally, and it was definitely a euphoric one indeed. The pullback comes as traders are digesting the fine print on Trump's 90-day tariff reprieve. Of course, he did not include a reduction on Chinese imports, still facing 125% rate. Absolutely insane there, guys. But we need to continue to watch, right? The S&P 500 gained 9%, the third largest gain since World War II. So definitely a huge move in the SPY off of that report. And we'll see what happens, right? Can we continue to get the lift? NASDAQ had its best day since January 2001. So the Q's really getting that jump, right? That was a big jump from around 420s up there to 470s. And the increase on the average 2 range is absolutely insane, guys. Look at the action on this, guys. I don't think we've ever traded that much on the monthlies. Maybe in the bear market, right? That's when we've had a trade like that. But we'll wait and find out. I think this is very important. And we're starting to try to get back towards the trend line. There was a long-term trend line that we drew for a while that we were wondering if we were able to kind of recover. And man, we've recovered off these 500 levels really well. That's why monthlies seem to make sense a lot of the times, guys. Let's get to the reality check, though. It's not just up move, right? Apple is still down 3%. And after a wild 15% increase yesterday, we'll have to wait to find out how Apple performs today. Will it be able to hold, or will it come right back down? NVIDIA pulled back after an 18% surge. Microsoft pulling back a little bit this morning, but those look a little bit better than I think Apple and other charts. Stellantis is down 8% after an 18% run. Ford also got a nice little lift there, but we'll see what happens on that. Now, one thing that isn't looking good this morning is CarMax. CarMax definitely taking a big hit this morning. That's KMX right back down to 74.20s. And you guys know I've been looking at this used car sales as being the area that could see a lift. Well, they got weak earnings that don't look great there. So that tells me more and more the trouble that is in autos. This is why I don't feel that Tesla's rally will hold here. I think eventually it comes crashing down right back towards the 200. We'll see what happens with that action. Citi and Goldman getting a little bit of a pullback after a nice little rip yesterday. Will the banks come climbing back? all things to be looked at, right? We'll talk a little bit more about this with, of course, my man Michael Nauss when he comes on here. Delta and United losing 3% after yesterday's charge. Will we start to see just a quick ramping pace back? Palantir went back to 88 yesterday, was at 67 just a little while ago. So quick moves back, right? And then the tariff tango. What actually happened here? Well, we got a 90-day pause that applies only to the most U.S. allies, right? And then China tariffs stay at 125%, still active. The EU responded with its own 90-day pause on U.S. goods. So they're like, well, we'll hold for 90 days also to find out what's going on. Trump's quote of the day, they were getting a little yippy, a little bit afraid. Yeah, well, I think Trump was getting a little bit yippy. I think Trump might have had the yips, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. What's next? Of course, eyes on the CPI. We'll talk a little bit more about that came in here. I need to do a little deeper search into the numbers and give you guys some exact specifics that I think are important to keep an eye out. Jobless claims also coming in here, and they didn't look the best, showing us that we're not being able to find jobs as easy as we were just a little while back, right? So we'll see what happens on that. And RCAT doing an offering. We saw that stock start to bounce back. Well, there you go. You do an offering, and yeah, that's going to affect some different outlook there. Let's talk about the jobless claims really quickly. Let me give you guys that number here. Jobless claims came in here, and of course, I'm seeing a bunch of CPI numbers here. Just give me 1 second here. Jobless claims, come on. Where's the jobless? There it is. Initial jobless claims, 223,000 versus 223 estimate prior, 219 prior. So essentially the initial jobless claims not moving up, but also not coming back down, right? Showing us more that jobless claims are continued at a higher elevated pace. We'll see what happens there as we see the downturn. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's get out of the Sunrise report. We'll take a look at some different sectors and moves out there. But was Wednesday's surge, of course, a genuine reversal? Or was it just a temporary retrieve from the still brewing trade storm that we have right now? All questions to be had. And we'll have to take a look at the sectors. Overall, XLK, huge bounce back day yesterday. It was just a whipsaw type of day. And this just came out of nowhere. Right. And this is the important part. I think it's very, I don't even want to get into the political talk too much today. I'll tell you guys the truth, guys. I feel like a little bit blindsided, like I'm sure a lot of investors feel, because the truth is that Trump's just playing games with millions and trillions of dollars. Right. The truth is, who does this affect? It affects the smaller guy, not the bigger guy. The bigger guy never gets out. Well, the smaller guy does get out of some investments and things like that as the market turns, and it is turned because of Trump, right? So I don't want to get into the whole conversation if this is the right way or the wrong way about it, but it's definitely tough on the investor out there. So don't worry if you feel a little bit frustrated right now. It's normal. It's absolutely normal to feel a little bit frustrated, especially if you missed out on that type of rally. And no one could say that was expected. Of course, everyone was waiting to see the good news, right? I talked about it, how the market was just waiting not to hear bad news, and then it was going to get a little bit of a rally. Well, we didn't expect it would come from a 90-day pause, as the White House had really said that wasn't even on the table, that they didn't even know where that information had gotten out. Well, the truth is that information was true, and they had the 90-day pause probably already in mind. And so the war games continue. The only thing is, how do we play it as traders? The truth is, there's no one way. There's no one answer. And you never know when the next tape bomb is coming around the corner. So this is one of the hardest trading environments I feel I've been in. And I can only say this as someone that's probably traded also the Trump era, the first 1.0. It was always about paying attention to the next word that Trump said. That's one of the hardest trading environments I think there is, because you're no longer looking at technicals. You're no longer looking at fundamentals. It's purely and simply story that's starting to drive the market. So if the story in the narrative gets adjusted from Trump, well, the story changes and price moves. We'll have to wait and find out what happens with that. But hey, this is just the market that we're in right now. So either you can step up to the plate and be able to handle the volatility, or you're going to get crushed. So it's okay to feel a little bit crushed. Just bounce back and find what you're doing best, right? Good morning out there. It's good to see you guys out there. Gordon, it's good to see you. Jay Angelo, Brian D, what's up? What's up? CPI was dovish. We'll see what happens on there. It's definitely good to see Isaiah, I think, out there. There you go. What's going on? Some new traders. It's good to see you guys. Market is flying on the Trump tariffs. That's why they should fire Trump, said Vic C. Well, unfortunately, I don't think Trump's getting fired anytime soon. So the truth is he's there for 4 years. Now, the only question is what's going to happen from that, right? James, what's going on? How we doing? Good morning to you guys out there. What trades are you guys watching this morning? Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at different trades out there that are being available to us even right now. So, of course, the SPY pulled back off of that 830 number, right? But we haven't broken the 15-minute low right now. That's what you got to be keeping an eye on right now. The support is holding well. We could go back to that 523 and start to hold that level. So that's another area that I'll be watching towards the gates. I think we're going to get a little bit of some choppy action the first hour of the day. So just be careful, guys. One thing I've been seeing more and more of a pattern is that the first hour of the day, super choppy, and then the afternoon getting a lot better. So the lunch traders and the late of the day traders are making the money. The early traders are just trying to ride a momentum and usually getting chopped up. So you got to be careful in that first hour of trading. That's just one thing that I'll clearly say. I've been seeing the pattern, and when I see that, it's easy money for market makers to just make money off of you, moving the price up and down, ping-ponging. And then by the time the move actually happens, the bigger move, you don't even have ammo to jump in the party. All right, we'll see what else is out there, guys, and we'll see if the consumer staples come crushing down. That could be getting a hit, and dividend players could be getting a hit. We'll see what happens out there, guys. How's Wheeler doing? Wheeler down to 367. That doesn't look good at all, guys. That one looks like it's going to get crushed out, but we'll see what happens there, Steph. Really, in the small caps this morning, I'm not seeing anything good. No setups that I like, guys. Maybe this KTTA on the sideways of the 150, but it's a 150 stock, guys. That's the only one that I could see that's kind of a nice setup for me, this KTTA. I'm looking around. This one doesn't look that great. Wheeler doesn't look good. It's just fading away. ELAB, maybe this one. This one's not the worst looking pattern. 15-minute pullback, right? But you can see how it failed to make that break. Now we need to see it hold kind of like the 450s, actually starts to get back above that. It doesn't look too bad here. You can see we just made a move where we made that attempted breakout and failed it. So we need to start seeing some strength in this for it to actually hold. But ELAB, not the worst looking chart. All right, let's keep it going, guys. It's good to see you guys out there, and we'll take a look at different stocks out there. It's 8:58. We're about to kick off the show. We'll get Michael's look, and maybe we just need a bull to take a look into this market because I don't know, man. Yesterday, maybe it's just my frustrations in the VIX, but I could definitely feel it today. I'm ready for the weekend. Let's just say that much. And it's Thursday. So that tells me enough, right? That tells me more and more how the stress has been on trading this week. And it's a tough time, guys. It's not an easy time to trade. That's one thing I'll definitely say. Are we going to go short Tesla today, Vic? Well, I think in way that you're looking into trading today, it needs to be kind of quick. Tesla could pull back, but it could also continue just ripping higher. I'm not positive about Tesla in the long run, but at the end of the day, it did hold that bottom right around 217. It never really broke that low. So I think in this case, you're just looking at that level to break for continued downside. Until then, Tesla could just be in a sideways pattern here. So I think Tesla is actually kind of like more of a no touch right here, unless you're kind of maybe playing it back towards 300 and you think it's going to get to 300. I can't blame you for maybe using this bullish engulfing candle, right, that we got yesterday because of the action. So we'll have to take a watch on Tesla. I think right now, for me, it's a nothing. no way to trade this right now. I mean, you could trade upside through kind of a trend line approach, right? You can see this trend line. I mean, everyone can see that trend line. Will we get back through there? I think it's something to think about. All right, guys, we'll take a look at different stocks out there. Is there anything green this morning? Rando's asking. Well, I know just the person to ask about that, and we'll get towards the competition. We'll reward those winners, so stick around, team. It's going to be a good show. Well, let's get to the action. Start that countdown, as I always say, and let's get to the action. Let's get to the trading side of things and announce those winners. Who won our simple competition? Nice little 3-day competition. I'll tell you what. Some really, really good trades that went on. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What up out there, traders? How we doing? Let's go ahead. Let's bring in Michael Nauss. How we doing out there, my friend? What's going on, man? It looks like the snow all melted yesterday.
Oh, it's what a boring time to be in the market, right? Just nothing's really happening. What a lame time. But for someone who's asking what's up today, China. And people think the market moves off news. China's up. You look K-Web's up this morning.
China's up. How can China be up during this time? Speak to me. What where's the logic in this, Michael?
Because the market doesn't care about news. By the time you know the news,
tell him, Michael. Say it again. Say it again so everybody can hear it loud.
The saying I always have is if you know the news, everyone else already knows the news, and it's priced into the market. So K-Web's up, JD.com is up, XPEV is up, PDD is up. So that right there tells me it all, right? Because if there's any stock that I think could get a destruction type of move, it's PDD. Because PDD was the one stock that continued to move actually up when China was going down. BABA got destroyed, but PDD was actually doing well. Why was PDD doing well? Because so many people were using Temu, right? But Temu is going to get destroyed in this time where it's 125% tariff on products, right? I think at some point, that's why you also got a comment from Amazon CEO Jensen today talking about how sellers are just looking to offset costs, right? So will Temu do the same, right? That's the only option they really have, right? Is just offset the cost and see what happens there. But it is interesting, definitely, to see these stocks continuing to rise this morning. So definitely we'll continue to watch what's going on in Asia and China. PDD down towards the support. Maybe this is a good buying area. I don't know. Maybe. I know I bought a whole bunch of China again yesterday. I sold a lot because, when talking about how much I've been buying stuff on Monday. Right? So my pallet here, I'm up nearly 50% on.
There you go.
Again, just more proof that all you have to do is stick to your plan, have a systematic approach, and then ignore everything else, right? It's the people who've been so caught up in the news cycle are just having a real bad time right now. So make sure you're not doing that, right? You're not falling
it's
trapped
how it is, because I think one of the important part is the uncertainty and kind of misinformation that we keep getting fed, right? That's the truth. We're getting fed misinformation. And when you get fed misinformation, you can be led astray. Your decision-making can fall off. Because essentially, if you are listening to what is said, the actions should kind of follow that, right? And that's not what we're getting. What we're saying is not what we're doing, right? And so Trump says something, but does something completely else, right? And so when that's happening, the whipsaws of paying attention to the news is not actually going to be helping you, because he could say left today, and in 5 minutes, he can be like, no, we're going to go right. And that's a tough trading environment. It is a tough trading environment with that. And the only thing you can do is just simply just blindly stick to your strategy. That's what helped Michael in this situation. Just literally just not even listening. Because the truth is that it's just conflicting noise, right? It's very much conflicting noise. And I think it's just crazy that 90-day was out beforehand. They told us it. Somebody knew this. I don't care what anybody says. Somebody knew this. Poor Walter got.
I know he got raked over the coals, and he was
over the coals.
Fine.
And there was also this conversation right before that big move of the 90-day. There was this huge call buying that happened. Somebody knew this, man. Somebody knew that Trump was planning to do that 90-day. That's where I get a little bit upset, because I think that's just pure market manipulation. But in this day and age, the SEC does not do their job, so don't worry about it, guys.
the president has a meme coin, right? Like there's no
you know what I mean? The president has a meme coin. He comes out on DJT and tells you to buy, and tells you the epic buying moment that buying is now. In the old days, if a president were to do this, the SEC would to come out and be like, no, you can't just be telling people to buy. And
crime is legal.
That's how it is right now. So welcome to the new age, guys, where it's like I've talked about it. A lot of people think that we're in a time of information, when I say that we're in a time of misinformation, where information just gets twisted, turned, and completely kind of flipped left and right. So the only thing you can do is pay attention to what's happening on the price action, right? Price action leads overall, right?
Well, so, and I would argue.
Go ahead.
All the way, right? Like, again, I've met a lot of traders, a lot of giant hedge fund managers, hung out with these guys, worked with them. I've never met a trader who listens to the news and then takes an action, and that's how they make money in the markets over consistency, right? It doesn't happen. All traders, all real investors, they ignore news, right? They can look for upcoming themes or something like that to guide decision making. They can use fundamental analysis to try to see things that other people aren't. But the problem with listening to the news is that you're not seeing anything that everyone else is. You're getting fed the same thing that everyone else is. So
exactly,
I would say not just now, but all the time. If you find yourself, there's no CNBC in this office, there's never any moment in which I have any of that stuff up, because I think it's just very, very harmful, right? You stick to your plan, you keep going. There are times, I'm certainly not going to lie, right? Buying these dips, playing with a plan. The day trading has been going great. The swing trading, not so much. But then in one day, all of that turns around. And I'm just so glad that I had shut everything out and had the wherewithal to stick to the plan. Because if I didn't, then I probably would have gotten a lot of the downside and then none of the upside, right? So again, if you don't have a system, you need one.
Yeah, and it's also tough, though. It's also tough. I will say that, because I mean, like, think about it in this way. Guys, I've been like dead right on direction 2 days in a row. Haven't been able to jump on the moves the right way, right? And so I think that sometimes it just goes to show you, right? This, even if you have direction picked, doesn't mean you're always going to win. So trying to figure out the ways to actually get to that cash, right? All right, guys, I think that's enough, at least the opening action talk. I wanted to really kind of get towards the good stuff, right? Because that's what you guys are here for. But like always, guys, and can you hear my little drum roll there? I don't know if you can hear it.
Say, like, let's who won? It certainly wasn't me.
Let's go, guys. The top 10 winners. Here we are, guys. Here we are, guys. And look at these P&Ls. First place to Sung T.O. with $16,000 made during this time, guys. Of course, he has a $200,000 account, but $16,000 made in this time. Wow. Congratulations, Sung.
You absolutely killed it, man. And then in the second place of the 200 tier, and it's first place because there is no second place. You guys both win first place, both getting the prize, right? That's what matters. And
Nice.
so Vlamiras here with 12,000. Wow, what a deal. I mean, think about it, guys. But then look at Rich L coming in here with half of the buying power of the $200,000 account and $23,000, 246. I mean, just think about that, guys.
25% three day, 25% 3 day return.
3 days, guys.
Nuts.
3 days. And we all know, split that by 70%. That ain't bad living, man, in 3 days.
Yeah.
Not bad living at all, man. So shout out to Rich, man. And Rich, Sung, anybody on this list, if you ever want to come on to the show, trade with us, hang out with us. You don't even need to show your screen. It's not about that. It's more about, we always like for our traders out there that are wanting to kind of come onto the show, trade with other traders, help other traders. Well, let us know. We're always willing to work with you. Eric T with 15,000. Congratulations, man. That's still an amazing amount. Honestly, anything over 10 grand with that 100,000 is absolutely amazing in 3 days. You're talking over 10%. Anything over that 10%, I have to give it up, man, because that's a crazy amount of return in just 3 days. Let's get to Alex here with the 50,000. $14,000, man. I keep getting more impressed as I work down this list, not up this list. And that's why I'm working down the list, guys. Alex C with half of the 100,000, right? Still getting pretty much as Eric there with the 15,000. Shout out to Alex. Crazy return there. David G with 9,000. Still an awesome gain there, guys. And then we get into David here with 5,332, $25,000 account. Absolutely killing it, man. That's what we want to see, that 10%. Really, if you're making that 10%, you're absolutely killing it here. And then look at these small ones, guys. These small ones actually really impressive, guys. I opened one of these and tried to compete with it. I got as high as 200, 230, but man, 640. And then Usma here, 475. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, guys, with a $5,000 account. That is absolutely killing it. That's another kind of 10%, right? I mean, the 475 pretty much there. So we got to give them the love. Definitely. Congratulations to the top 10 PNL performers. Of course, this was the Trump competition to buy the Trump dip. Well, I hope you bought that dip because, man, it was a dip to buy. It was an epic opportunity. And let's give a shout out to those traders that actually got the bonus. The bonus here of passing the eval in just 3 days. So congratulations to all these traders out here. Really, you guys, really impressive here to pass it in 3 days. I mean, that's absolutely insane. I mean, you guys should really be impressed with your skill level and all the things involved because really it's not easy to pass in 3 days. I can tell you that right now. It puts pressure on you. So for you to be able to accomplish it, you should really give yourself a pat on the back and learn one thing. If you can accomplish it in 3 days, all I need to do is be patient. That shows me that you can be a winning trader. You just need to be patient, right? Waiting for the right time to hit the gas pedal. So if you can do it in 3 days, well, keep looking at, expanding that winning, but also remember, you don't always need to reach the goal in 3 days now that you have the funded, right? Because I want all those traders that are now funded to really hone in and go make that cash. At the end of the day, I root for you guys. I know Michael roots for you guys. We're all rooting for you guys to have success because really that shows us that we're able to do what? And I always talk about this, paying it forward for you guys, right? If there's any way that Michael and I can help you guys learn skills, tips, tricks to help you get to success, we're all there for you guys. So always reach out to us if you have any questions or something that you want us to expand upon, right? Or maybe you guys that got funded in 3 days and want to come on and talk about the strategy that you're seeing is working. Well, let us know. the door is open to you guys. So congratulations one more time. Definitely great wins here. The top 10 P&L performers, top one there, 23,000. Richie Rich out there. Hey, ain't going to be doing too bad. And that name ain't going to do you too bad with all that money. Traders who pass in 3 days. Congratulations to all you guys, and we'll keep getting after it. I opened up a $50,000 account here, as I am announcing, guys. Unfortunately, the funded 20,000 has passed. The Titanic has sunk, guys. It broke in half, and it's gone. But guess what? That's how life goes, guys. So the Titanic is still at the bottom of the ocean. I'm not bringing it back out and not going down there to go searching for it. I'm looking at the new account and looking to keep pushing forward, guys. We'll go ahead and get after it and see what we can come up with. I did the flex also for a specific reason, right? Don't need to be jumping out of my seat. Want to be going for a nice, smooth approach to continue rising, guys. With that flex account, of course, giving me the ability to keep going without the 45-day trial. Now, one thing that you got to remember about the flex that I want to tell traders out there is on the flex, you have a bigger max daily drawdown. So on those accounts, for me, I don't want to get there. I want to cut that in half and make sure if I do get to that half spot that I'm actually shutting myself down no matter what, right? Because the truth is that you don't want that drawdown probably being that far down, right? If your drawdown is half of what you're allowed to do, that's too much, guys. That's just too much. So we need to adjust that, right? I want to make that at minimum 25%, but really I would love for that to be closer to 15 or 10%, right? So that I have to lose 10 times that max to then get the account to get blown, right? And so you want to give yourselves what? Ammo to play with, especially in the flexible account, that there's no time limit, right? There's no rush. Well, just wanted to mention that. And definitely traders, check them out, flex or max, whichever you prefer. All right, let's get back to the trading action. What are we seeing out there, Michael? Are we still rising off the CPI? Seems like we're holding on those 15-minute lows. How do you see the market here? I will tell you guys, I'm a little shook from yesterday, so I'm going to kick it to Michael to tell me how he sees the levels, and I'm trying to keep it simple today. I know that I'm in an emotional, a little bit of a kind of, we'll say, a rut, a little bit of a up and down action. So what do I need to do? I need to keep it simple today. So I'll sit back, relax, enjoy the show. What are you seeing out there, Michael?
I'm expecting chop, right? It's such a massive move, and chop being high volatility, right? I did a tweet this morning saying, if you look over here and you see the Q's down 2.3%, you go, oh man, right? That's a pretty bad down day. Until you zoom out, you look at the chart, and that's not even part way down yesterday's range. Oh, I have this here. I thought this was hilarious. This was Goldman Sachs at 1 Eastern saying, hey, their baseline is that we're going into a recession. And then at 2 saying they're not going into a recession.
Dude, how does this even work, man? Like,
I don't. And there's people out there who will, and this has kind of always been my point. There's people out here who don't record their trades, and they don't, come up with strategies, and they don't, do all these things. What they do is they read these reports and they watch CNBC and they read news and say, oh, that's a good news for a company, I'm going to buy it, or that's bad news, I'm going to sell it. And so I keep taking these and just laughing at them because there's no pro traders that actually kind of read this stuff. But anyway, that's just funny to me. The two areas that I'm watching.
Just to say, I think at the end of the day, news is decent for like maybe pre-market and after hours because of the low liquidity, but especially during the intraday, news is just almost priceless. A lot of the times, and it's also, you got to remember, you're living in a world where everything's faster than you. The computers are going to be faster than you. Everything's going to be faster than you. So for you to react off of something and have, like Michael says, knowledge that no one else does, well, then maybe if you really have knowledge no one else does. But knowledge nowadays is not like that. It just doesn't work. And the computers can react faster. The AIs can react faster. Just think about how many AI kind of algorithms have been created now in the market trying to jump on news. Well, I'll tell you, they jump all over each other. And that's how you see those crazy wicks on earnings where it goes to like the moon and then it goes all the way back down. Well, those are algos just stomping on each other. So you got to be careful in this day and age if you think news is what runs the show, because it's more, I think, focusing on the overall outlook of fiscal, monetary, and then that can help you in the longer term. But in short term, you have to stay with the price action. And that's the hardest thing because it can change in an instant, like it did yesterday.
Right.
It went from extremely bearish to all of a sudden extremely bullish. And now you need to be watching what happens. And I think that what will happen here is a bunch of people trying to chase the price action now. Because if you didn't catch yesterday's move, if you're one of those day traders that trade from 9:30 to 10:30, you missed yesterday's move. And now what do? Well, you're probably in with your buying shoes today. And the market, I don't know if it's going to make it that easy for us today. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that yes, news will move markets, but kind of like what you mentioned, you just can't react to it in time anymore.
Yeah.
And again, this is from someone who, back in the day, there's a lot of gray in my beard. We used to pay for a Dow Jones squawk service, and we'd split it across the office. It was hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. And the benefit was he was reading news right as it hit, and that was the fastest way you can get it. But now, the second anything hits a news wire, there, like you mentioned, thousands of bots. And they're not new. They've been tweaking these bots for 10, 15 years now, where they grab key and they make the trade. So again, just ignore it all, right? So what I'm watching here on the SPY is simply, right, we still got the VWAP from lows. So that's way down here. This is the same VWAP from highs that was this massive wall of resistance here that before the crash. And then also, there's something I just saw from Brian Shannon, right? He's taking the VWAP from the breakout candle, the candle that we actually started to move here on the SPY. And we're right there. We're just hanging out right at that price. So that makes me think that, again, there's a lot of digestion to have happened here. So I'm looking at the post-market highs way up there and then the pre-market lows, but I think there's going to be a lot of chop. I think it's going to be very volatile chop because, again, I always bring out this measuring tool more and more. We are down 3% from this highs, which it's huge for the markets. Again, a big market is generally a little bit here or there. This pullback, again, makes perfect sense. That, hey, some people that got it are going to take some profits. Some people are going to try to short for a potential next leg down. I just think a couple of days of consolidation not only is going to happen, but that would actually be bull case for me, because we ran a massive way to get into this area, right? We were talking about this the whole time, that this was the area we wanted to hold. When we gap down and we close below that area, that was the flush, right? As soon as we got down there, that's where the real kind of crash started. This 10% move, a big deal. So we've come back and we bumped our head there. We've got the AVWAP, got a lot of resistance here above. Again, bull case, I think, is just sideways choppy action while we kind of digest that overhead supply and people get everything in action and then get everything excited. And then when we break through, that could be a little bit continuation. If we break through earlier than that, I'm less interested. Also, of course, the 200-day moving average ahead. Just a lot of resistance above us. Now, we're carrying off the back of some huge momentum, so we definitely could see that. But yeah, it's one of those where I'm just looking and saying, we have a lot of resistance above. I'm not going to short because, right, the Trump flinched, right? A lot of people say, oh, this was the plan all along. Those are the same people that were saying he was trying to lower interest rates, right? The anyone that can, I can paint a story to make it sound good. The bond market crashed and he flinched, right? The bond market controls everything. So now that we know that if the bond market continues to crash, he'll flinch again, I think that lays out a pretty clear message, right? If the bond market is starting to sell off here, then there's going to be more relief of tariffs. There's going to be whatever it takes to get the market higher again, because again, we talked about this too in the pre-market yesterday. Only us little tiny fish that no one cares about trade stocks, right? The big guys, they trade bonds, and the smartest money out there is always in the bond market. If the bond market cranks too low, that means rates are too high, and that means the economy shuts down. So,
Yeah.
again, keep an eye on the bond market. The fact
And it was
that it's
almost a
down
given,
this
right?
much-
The recession concern, right, is almost a given
Yeah.
if it was going to continue in the direction it was going.
Yeah.
Like,
And did you see the quote? Now the bond market is a big, beautiful bond market. It's the most beautiful. I swear to God, it was the same. It was the most beautiful bond market we've ever seen.
I can't help myself, man. I can't help myself. This is it. Here you go.
Yeah,
Here you
right
go.
there.
Look, guys, what I put out on my Twitter. The bond market, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, guys. It's absolutely beautiful. I watched it. All right. I got to play the video for us. It's just too good. We got
It's
about 4
hilarious
minutes before the bell here. I'll share with sound so that we could hear it.
Yeah, so all the people that were saying, this was this was the plan all along and all that kind of stuff. It's just no, it's not. And he admits it here. He says, right, the bond market
Here you go,
flinched.
guys.
So I had to flinch.
All right. So the question that he gets. Was it the bond markets?
Reverse
I was watching the bond market.
I was taking a look.
Very tricky. I was watching it, but if you look at it now, it's beautiful. The bond market.
Beautiful.
Right now is beautiful.
Beautiful, I tell you.
Last night where people
What world do we live in, man?
I don't understand it, Michael. I really don't, man. Back in my days, if someone was talking like that, they would not take you serious. Let's just say that much. But hey, to each his own, man. They take him serious now, and yeah, we all know he was looking at the bond market. But I think what it really was the sound of the alarm, right? So everyone was saying that China was starting to sell treasuries against the U.S., trying to essentially devalue, right? And I think that could have been happening. But the question wasn't really if only China was going to do it, were the other countries going to take part, right? Was it going to be the world against us? Because if it becomes
Japan. Yeah, Japan owns a lot of treasuries.
Exactly. So if Japan joined China and others joined that move, well, then he was going to really put pressure against us, right? I think that's what happened. I think they started to feel the pressure from other countries saying, well, I mean, if you're not going to work with us, we could just go sell your treasuries. Like, you know what I mean? We can affect your markets, whether you think or not. We can affect your markets and short-term liquidity there to put some pressure on you guys. I think the pressure got put on. And did Trump break? Yeah, he broke. But the truth is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he broke or not. The truth is, it's now what we're stuck with, and the reality is, right? There's still 10% tariffs. It's just gone down some. There's still tariffs out there that we need to be thinking about what happens next, right? The 90 days, what happens after that 90 days? Will it just go right back up? Because some countries still need to negotiate. And now is the question, did Trump kind of give up his hand in the negotiations? Because he almost showed a little bit of some weakness yesterday. And I think some countries are going to take that as weakness and be like, well, what I would negotiated yesterday probably isn't what I'm negotiating today with. Yeah. Right. And so the battle continues in the tariff game.
Yeah. And so just for Randy, we got 2 minutes left. So just a quick overview of the bond market. So TLT is your 20-year treasury. That's your shorter term. That makes the most sense to watch, right? Because the other thing you can do is if you have TradingView, you can go to TNX, right? This is the 10-year yield. So this is the yield that you would get. So this isn't the price of the bond, right? We don't want yields to rocket like this. We want yields lower, right? So then that spurs. So the long story short is that if TLT is tanking, that means that people are selling their bonds. People are selling their treasuries, which means that people are no longer interested in making investments or sending out loans. That's the biggest way to put it. And if nobody's making investments, no one's sending out loans, then the market goes down. And just what I was talking about, the biggest, smartest guys that are out there, the bond market is 10 times the size of the stock market. And then the derivatives market is even bigger than that. So the little tiny guys trade stocks, right? The big guys trade bonds, because this is going to be the big measure of the economy. Last thing to watch would be HGY. And this is your high yield corporate bonds. You can see the absolute crash they took here. So instead of treasuries, these are corporations, and they're high yielding bonds. So big crash.
Stocks, big jump right out the gates there, and kind of expected to pull back out the gates. The one stock I'll have a watch on today is Apple. I think Apple can still drop pretty hard here today. So that's the one stock that I had. I really don't know why it made the jump yesterday, because if these China tariffs stick, Apple is a world of problems. In a world of problems, I think. So I'm watching Apple today. I'm watching. It's a good indicator for me.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just right off the gate. Right, we've got the pre-market low marked, the post-market high. This range is just insane between these two things. And then this orange line is the anchored VWAP from the announcement. So basically just showing that, hey, this is the average price of people who've been buying as soon as this kind of announcement came out. We can put a little lower, put right there. So just showing that, hey, if you actually bought through the move and you were buying on the way up, this is your average price. And you can see that's been kind of a magnet recently. So far, we are holding the pre-market lows, and we need to see a little, if we hold. If not, I could see a little undercut and rally. 2-day VWAPs at 523. So that's a pretty big move to get to there as well. Those would be two areas that I would potentially be thinking about getting involved.
A lot of buy the dips in that PRFX as one of the small names to watch today. But just looking around out there, watching to see what happens in energy. Nice little pullback out the gates in energy. Financials kind of sideways here. Industrials sideways. Trying to see what leads, right? I'll be looking into the sectors. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I'm watching some of these names. So DJT, for example, breaking down. These are just my AVWAP fades.
VIX jumping right out the gates here. I had that feeling we'd get a quick jump, and then the question is, how much of a jump do we get, right? And will it be able to hold here? That's what you got to be looking at.
STZ. So yeah, DJT, I'm going to look to take a little bit of a short here. Again, just the VWAP to VWAP move. Even though he's probably a little bit more popular right now, this is still an awful company that doesn't make any money. So gapping up with everything doesn't, it's one of those things like Mitch was saying, sometimes you just find the thing that doesn't make the most sense. And DJT looks like one of those things that might not make sense to be up right now. So you could potentially take a little bit of a trade off that. Again, just monitoring, just watching. So a little short there. Was it
15 minutes support still holding on the SPY there. Multiple wicks in that area. We can't seem to break 530 right now. Watching that level to see if we break it here. Will we even go down today? I mean, I think we need to first see that 530 break. That's why I'm not just going long the VIX right here. Watching the SPY, the 15-minute support seems to be holding in the pre-market.
So there's Constellation Brands. So I'm taking a purchase in that one as well.
There you go.
Post earnings, gap down a little bit on earnings. Looks like it might be rallying back up through. And again, a little green arrow alert there as well.
Also, remember that the staples kind of went down also with the market too. And I think that a little part of that is getting a little bit of a rally just because things look a little bit better, right? Even if you were like a Constellation Brands, you were concerned about demand going down. And now the jump back is definitely going to help. And of course, tariffs being lifted off of, let's say, in alcohol or wine and beverages, distilleries, those types of names could get a jump today.
Yeah, so
there's the SPY. There's the SPY, guys. There's the SPY holding in, and the VIX going right back through the low. So it seems like we want to hold that 530 right now in the pre-market support on the SPY. Let's see if we make a move now to 536 or 538. overall market, the only thing I see green from the open is consumer defensive.
Mm.
Everything else is in the red from the open.
Yeah, a lot of digestion needs to take place. It's one of those.
Yeah,
it's
and
been
and,
a-
and,
it was
and
a-
some
a
profit
big
taking,
deal.
right? Like if you were one of those big trading desks yesterday after you finally did get the news, I'm sure you went big, long, and you're maybe taking some quick profits into the morning, especially as the SPY kind of came back down a little bit. I think if we were this morning and we were at by like 560s, I don't think you would see as much profit taking. I think you're seeing a little bit of some scaredness maybe here, but remember, that's 15 minutes lower. Keep holding in. As long as those hold right now, I don't think we're at least pulling back significantly just yet.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got my DJT short. I've got my SDZ long, and then we'll just see. X I missed, just wild action. Some of these other ones I may have missed as well, but I've got those two, so we'll see how those works. And
You think gold can come down off of this? Gold GLD is getting a little spike, but I'm wondering what happens to gold after this, right? With this kind of adjustment that we've gotten in the market.
I still think the uncertainty's high, and that's how people play gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obvious level, if you want to take a short, right? You're taking a short against these highs at.
Oh, your silver broke
1300.
28. Silver broke 28 and later in the day yesterday. I wonder how you feeling the silver today? Think we can get that gap fill? I mean,
Yeah, I'm still looking, still watching that. I may, if we break yesterday's high, I may take some there with just a stop down there. I really love, for those who missed it yesterday, we were talking about, I just really love the long-term chart. Okay. And the short interest in silver is the highest it's ever been. So, that's a pretty big move there.
XLF holding in today tells me more and more. I got to watch to see what happens to financials a little bit later today. And it's very small pullbacks. Yeah. Same thing that I'm seeing on the SPY. I think this is leaving room for the bulls to come right back in because the bears want to see the market come right back to the lows and maybe put some pressure. I'm seeing very little pressure on that outlook right now on the bulls.
Obvious move is to take out a third mortgage and go in. I hope you mean short on GME. Then you might be right. I don't think taking out a third mortgage and buying GME makes any sense. I still don't get why when he bought Bitcoin, this thing rallied. It doesn't make any. People are buying. Just buy the Bitcoin. Then you don't have to pay 3 times as much and have a company that loses money. But yeah, I don't think there'll be any benefit here to GameStop.
All right, starting to see that drop here, guys. I'm looking to look to see if Apple can start dropping here, but I am seeing the VIX. They're getting a little spike. There's the move from the SPY towards the 530s. Let's see if we break the 530 now. TLT also moving up, just to kind of bring it in that. I think I might actually trade a little bit of the TLT today.
TMG, there's
just riding the 9 EMA really well right now. So I'd look for little pullbacks to the 9 EMA to maybe try to scalp this back.
There is, just trying to find it here. There's a leveraged TLT.
Let's see if I can find it here right quick.
TMF, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, so TMF is just leveraged version of the 3 times leveraged TLT.
There you go.
You get the same movement, right? You just get a little bit more juice. Again, one of the beauties of trading stocks, so you can get that move, right? And again, 3 times. So if you're right on a percentage basis, you're going to make 3 times as much. So nothing at all wrong with that.
VIX right back down towards the low, guys. I haven't not taken a trade, guys. I'm trying to hold off on it. I've been noticing more and more how kind of like the first hour of the day has just been literally just trying to catch traders, I think. And I think you need to kind of wait at least till 10:30 to start making moves. At least that's what the market's been showing us. The last couple of days, it's been the move when? Towards 12. Lunch algos, taking that retail money. That's what I've been seeing. I put a tweet out before Trump put the pause yesterday. I put a tweet out that watch the lunch algo buy program come in here and start to drive things up. It just felt like that yesterday. It felt like yesterday, like it was just a matter of time for it to kind of get the rip. And that's why I was trying to short the VIX the whole time. I just didn't play it the right way. Just smaller size there could have gotten one of the biggest moves in VIX history, right? And I think that we need to think about trades like that more and more. I'm looking forward to the adjustments in our swing accounts coming soon to make trades like that, right? That could have been easily the trade that I make. A lot of times in swing trading, I'm trying to make 1 or 2 trades a day and trying to see if it can hang on. Because if I can hang on, then I'm looking good, and I can look for the overnight victory, right? But we'll see what happens, guys. VIX still battling here, guys. Back and forth action.
Yeah, so I took this love stack short, LOVE, just again, one of those triggers, gapped up on the open. So just VWAP to VWAP. Again, just it's Groundhog Day. That's the thing about being a systematic trader. Every day is Groundhog Day. I know exactly what I'm going to come in and do today. I know exactly what I'm going to come in and do tomorrow. Right? Just keep doing the same thing. Shouldn't be interesting, right? Trading shouldn't be exciting. It should just be.
There's the VIX right back up. And so there's the SPY coming down a little bit, but it's still a little bit of a chop, right? We're still towards 945 still here, guys. It's like, it feels like market's not going anywhere right now, but I'm looking around. If I see one area that's definitely dropping fast, it's energy. It's energy continuing the downside, XLE.
Yeah, there's nothing going on economic wise, but yeah, it looks like we're flirting again. This is a lot of what we kind of mentioned as we were getting ready, is that after such a massive move like that, it feels like when you have a big move in the market, it ends up being like 2 boxers in a ring kind of sizing themselves up for the first little bit. Is like, okay, are profit takers going to come in aggressively here? Are there going to be people who missed it yesterday who get involved? And yeah, we're just kind of sizing them up. Right now we are under the pre-market lows, so the bias is negative unless we get a quick move up and then a kind of a close up here. That to me might be a little bit more interesting. And then probably the last trade today that I just took is this VRO. I have no idea what this guy is, but you can see a green arrow alert there. So that's DJT, STZ, Love, and VERO. Those are the kind of the four trades I've taken, and then I've put out the profit targets and all that kind of stuff. And now it's time to just let them work. Just observe the market while I let them work.
There's a SPY coming down here. It's going to start putting some pressure on the bulls. Let's see if they start to let go a little bit. We get some quick moves down here. SOXS making a new high there, so definitely seeing some kind of bearish action in the semiconductors here, at least on the opening action, down about 1%.
That was just crazy yesterday. Look at that candle on the leverage ETF. It was like a 57% move on SOXX, just down. Just
yeah,
wild.
Absolutely insane.
Just nuts action.
Apple's still not pulling back there. I'm looking around out there to see what else is moving. TLT continuing to move up. Hasn't pulled back to the 90 EMA all day. Oh, maybe right out the gates, the first 2 minutes maybe. But other than that, it's been holding in there. SPY just broke the 530, now 529 is coming into play. So this is where if they're going to bring it back, I'll see off of that 530. But we'll find out here. Yeah,
we're down below, and then that's a big area, right? If we go here's the futures contracts, but it's a big zone in through here that it was holding for a long time, and now we've broken that. So the next target is the 2-day VWAP, which is again a long way away. I would expect some sort of bounce before then, but could be a little bit of a bleed, a little bit of a profit taken. I don't think we're going to retake this zone from when the news came out, but it's a market, so anything can happen. But trying to dig in there a little bit. If we get back through this pre-market low, I may just take a little bit of a long on the SP 500 or SOXL, whatever that ends up being. Just something to get a move going on there, because could be one of those liquidity grab moments. Wouldn't surprise me, right? If they undercut, they stop out some people with good trailing stops, that kind of thing. They rip it up back through, and then we go to highs.
Yeah, we've done 1, 2, 3 bottomings today, at least on the one. And so I'm looking to see one more time where we can maybe crush through the 530 and then recover. But it might be a fast move, right? I think that at least the opening action kind of made sense to pull back to kind of stuff a little bit of the bulls. Now the question is, can they come in and it really kind of rip the market higher? And what does this tell me is big money buying here? Is big money willing to buy here? And I think that, at least from my thinking, I don't think they're willing to just jump right in, because I think they got in yesterday. So we'll look for a little bit further pullback to maybe go for a bigger ad. Maybe we get back to 510s or something like that. I think we got to start looking for potentially kind of inverse head and shoulders pattern here at the bottom. So can we go and make a right shoulder? Things like that I'll be thinking about.
I just bought some to stop the low of the day. Here's just kind of the very basic trade idea. Is
yeah,
that was a big, right? That was a big low, big level there that we undercut, spent a couple minutes below, and then we rallied back up through. So if we can get, to highs of the day, that's like it's like 1.25. It's not an insane risk reward trade, but just a little bit of a scalp, right? It could be. We've been seeing these so much. You undercut the level, you rally it back up through, rinse and repeat. And then if it gets to the pre-market high, well, now it's like a 2-to-1 or so risk reward. So it's a little shot I'm taking there. I know right where I'm wrong. New low of the day break. VERO is working well. Love hasn't moved. DJT is not working. Geez, STZ. Had to look over to remember what I was in. That means you're getting old. Yeah, STZ is working well. So STZ is getting close to a profit take here. So 1 profit, 1 down, and 2 flats. So it puts me up a little bit on the day.
Man, this has been boring out the gates here. Looking around, but this is how it's going to be right now. I think it's just trying to top traders up, right? We talked about the first hour of the day and how it's been just a choppy area. I think that, sometimes like I don't stay in the market all day anymore, but I can tell you right now, especially like the last couple of days, has been more and more in that time where I'm like, man, I wish I could stay here all day. And that's just how it is sometimes. I think that, sometimes you got to be thinking that you got to expand your trading hours to be more patient. I think in times like we were yesterday and the uncertainty times, you might need to expand your trading time a little bit to be a little bit more patient, waiting for the bigger move, and then trying to react off of that. I think that would have been the better move to do, really, is like just being patient, waiting for that Trump news to come in, and you still had time to make money yesterday. I think that's the important thing, right? Like even if you caught it 10 minutes after the first push, 15 minutes after the first push, the real push didn't really happen till like 2 p.m. On the continued drive, which was still another like 3%, 3.69% on the SPY. That still left a lot of room to make money. So I think that's just one way to think about it too, is expanding trading hours sometimes can actually help you. Because if you're just a first opening hour trader, guess what? You miss both moves 2 days in a row on the biggest moves, right? Whether it was when the SPY kind of dropped 7%, you know what I mean? So was it 6.25 or something like that? When it dropped on not yesterday, but the day prior, and then moving up yesterday off of that reaction, right? I mean, when you think about it, that was an overall 9% move higher. Missing it, why? Because you're only in the first hour of the day.
This is all arguments for automated trading and systematic trading. I'll get you there, Mitch. Don't you worry. Imagine
We'll
if
get to
you just
someday,
had
maybe.
imagine if you just had a system in place that would take trades for you.
Need an
and then alert you
optimist. I need
when
an
trades
optimist.
happen.
An optimist prime.
Yeah.
Trade for me.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, these AVWAP fades, I'm looking at them in my trade the pool account, but they're just going in my interactive brokers account. I'm not doing. They just happen.
All right. Has it been enough whipsaws that I can start getting into the market? I'm almost there, guys. I'm almost there.
Well, now we're back to VWAP, and we're struggling at VWAP. So again, I have my long. I'm about flat on it here. Yeah, now we're at VWAP, and then above that is the this is the VWAP from that crazy move. So we're a little bit below that now. So that was good action, and we slammed down there and then just rallied her right back up. So some positive action going on. But yeah, I think this choppiness, and remember, just to keep it in context with everyone, doesn't look like the market's done anything today, but this is a 1.5% range. So the market's done a lot today. It's one of those, because the volatility is so high that when you're looking at it in a chart, it doesn't look like anything's moving. But it's this high volatility, crazy chop, where you're moving 1.52% on any given candle. It's crazy. And like Brando said something, 3% used to mean something. It used to be, right? They would stop the presses on a 3% move on the day, and now we've moved 1.5% already today in the first 20 minutes. Again, we went on this whole rant yesterday, so I won't do it again, but this is why you have to take whatever size you normally trade, cut it in half or a third or a quarter, and just know that this market's just crazy, right? This 2-minute candle alone, let's measure this 2-minute candle on the SPY. Yeah, it's 0.5%.
Yeah,
right?
I'm wondering, what kind of retracement we're gonna get, right? Are we gonna get a 50% retracement? Are we gonna get a 30% retracement? 30, maybe is a 38% retracement, right? That's where we held on the low right now, the 38.2 on the fib. That was near that 528.50 level. I have it exactly around like 528, pretty much 50. I mean, it's close. It might be a little bit lower than that. But the next level would be all the way back down towards like 522.70s. That's the 50% of yesterday's rally. So right now, I think it's holding that 38.2, which is a bullish sign there. We'll see if it's able to hold on. Can it hold on?
So, well, and right, this purple line is a pre-market low. So as long as we can hold that level, that's bullish. If we break back down through, again, that will be a loss on that trade. But that could just be more information that we could be just bouncing to VWAP, failing, and then making a new low, right? So it's one of those. It's a little drawing tool, this guy, right? Do we just sell off and then bounce and tag VWAP and then make a new low? Maybe. So I think this area is a big one to defend now. Again, my stop is the low of the day, but that's a big zone to defend there.
Yeah, and the VIX has just been choppy, man. I think it's trying to chop up some traders here. I'm trying to stay on the sideline. I even looked at Citi right here to maybe make a buy in finance. Right? Why financials? I think that, one of the things that happened is there was recession concern. That's why the banks came down. I think the banks didn't come down off of the tariffs. They were concerned about recession. And to me, that might have gotten pulled off yesterday. Right. And so I'm just looking at to see if the banks can actually see some continued strength.
So there's Citi. That's the yellow line's a 2-day VWAP, holding to the
really well, right?
over and over and over again.
Exactly.
And the blue line's the 1-day VWAP. So you have these two prices kind of pinching you. So if you like it, a pretty simple trade might just be wait for 2-minute close above 1-day VWAP, and then you buy and you put your stop 2-day VWAP and move on. Speaking of, I've actually just taken STZ off here. That was a great trade, right? Just bought in through here. The 2-day VWAP was well below, so I didn't really have a hard profit target other than post-market high. Got a nice little run there on that. DJT is holding on barely, but still in that one. LOV hasn't done anything. I think they make.
Is there levered Apple? Who knows the levered
Oh,
Apple
yeah.
tick?
For sure there is.
AAPB I have as a long. I'm looking for the bear. AAPU.
Yes.
Oh no, that's also bull.
Short the bull.
Yeah,
Right.
same thing.
Yeah, AAPU. Thank you, chat.
Yeah, I'm looking to short Apple, and I think here couldn't be a bad level here because it's up above VWAP compared to the SPY that's below VWAP.
Yeah, and look at where it stopped right in the pre-market. It's 2-day VWAP. And then it bounced. This is just wild how you seeing that work.
All right, guys, just took a trade there on AAPU, short a little bit here, and I'm going to go with a tight trade here first off of the 2051 level, so only risking about $36 on the first trade. Just really looking to see if the SPY is going to break down here. If it breaks down here, I think Apple could pull back, maybe even to the low, which is 1950, so that's about $1 outlook to risk 12 ticks. I'll do that anytime. Let's see what happens.
APD.
There we go. Good first action there on that SPY going red candle there. Now we'll look to see if it starts to break here.
Oh yeah, AAPD. But that's only a 1x leverage, right? You might as well ignore the price of it, right? Because that doesn't matter. It's the most irrelevant thing is whether it's a $1 stock or $1 million stock, right? It's the percentage that it's going to move. Because right, that's why I remind people, don't think in share size, think in dollar amounts, right? If you're going to put in, if you got your 50K account, if you're going to put your 50K account in, you want something that's going to move 2 times. But yeah, APD. Interesting. The reason they came out with these, I was wondering why you would just do a 1x leveraged bear ETF. I didn't know this, but I guess you can't trade in some investment accounts for like the tax deferred ones. I think you call them IRAs there. You can't take leveraged ETFs. So they made these unleveraged ETFs. So in your retirement account, you could short Apple with these one-time leveraged ETFs, which just a little, because I always looked at it and say, well, there would always be shares to borrow on Apple. So why would you create a bear ETF for it? I guess that's why, so that people can do it in their retirement account, because they wouldn't be able to take the leveraged ones. So
yeah, dude. And people do these all the time. I see it all the time. I'm taking this YOLO in my Roth account. I'm like, yeah. I'm glad you're like me, Michael. You're like, what?
No, you have separate accounts for those. In my retirement account and in like all those, I have systems. Everything I do is systematic trading, but I have an all-weather ETF strategy, which just means it's just trading a basket of ETFs that rotates once a month. The goal is to match the return of the market by lower the drawdown. But yeah, I never understand the right. Have a trading account, have fun with a trading account, go nuts, but then yeah, have a real account.
Why the YOLO for the retirement account?
Yeah, that should be long-term trades.
I'm not gonna put him on blast who it was. It's sometimes I see moments like that and I'm like, but like, how do you even put a tweet out like that? Like maybe you do it for your own, like kind of, your own egotistical being, but and the best part is like the other trades that he mentioned were the smart trades. I'm like, so the smart trades you put in the day trading account, the dumb one we throw it in the Roth IRA.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense, right? Perfect sense, guys.
Hey, pushing down the lows, getting close to lows here.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take some profits into this move here. I'm thinking we maybe get a little bit break here, but not breaking down. And so I'm at the point where it's like, come on, Come on, do the move. Do the move. If not, gotta watch out. There's the VIX breaking a new high. So I'm still staying into this Apple trade here. It's all about China, right? I mean, if China loosens up, well, I could get screwed in this Apple trade. But if China retaliates more and comes with something else negative, that's why I'm playing Apple to the short side. Because I have a feeling that we're going to hear a response from China. The only question is, will it be a good response? Getting a little squeeze here right back in Apple, guys. So we'll see what happens. VIX starting to pull back there, but just going to hold off the risk here. SPY, we'll see if it breaks down. It hasn't broken down. It has essentially just hanging on these lows that we did at 945.
Yeah, we're holding on to the lows barely. About to get stopped out, I'm sure, on it, but yeah, holding the lows for now, which is fine because again, these more discretionary trades I'm taking hyper small while I'm trying to figure out a system. Right? Now that you all know my end goal, which is always systematize, right?
All right, guys, head and shoulders pattern not looking too bad, but I barely trust head and shoulders patterns. That's what I'm seeing on Apple. I think that wick up. So let's see if we get a whoosh down here. SPY for me can go to 525 here. Let's see if it can actually do a quick move to there. Then I'll look to see what happens, right? Will we get the recovery? But just trying to get a quick move here to make some first profit on the first trade in the new eValve account. Let's see if I can get the profits here, guys. Will AAPU start to break? There we go. First action not looking too bad here.
Yeah, the SPY is breaking pretty good here.
Just took some off there. You guys saw me take some cash there, and we'll leave the rest to work. 150. In this market, I feel like, especially in a high volatile environment, leaving a runner and then just looking to see what happens is not bad. Not a bad idea. Let's see what happens here. Can I get another break? Now I'm break even on the rest. No matter what, I'm going to win on this trade. Now trying to continue pushing in the right direction. Let's see what happens. SPY 527 showed up there. Will they get to the 525? That's what I'm kind of looking at. TLT holding in on the 9 EMA. We'll see if it rebounds off of that. Short on Apple, essentially, guys. Glad I stuck to my playbook today. Sometimes I can get distracted by things in the market, and that happens, guys, especially as someone that's kind of like, I try to lead the charge here and tell you guys a lot of like, well, defensives are up and what's up there, right? But I can get distracted a lot of the times by running through a million charts. So right there, looking to just continue riding the Apple. And if it comes back on me, that's okay too, right? Because I'm setting myself up for the move, and then we'll see what happens, right? That's all we can do, at least in this environment, is try to set ourselves up for success.
Yeah, just have a plan, stay laser focused on that plan, and execute, right?
Yeah.
Joined last night, but it's not allowing me to log into the platform. There's nothing really we can do here, but let me just grab, you're hitting the credentials button, right? That you see on the, just grabbing this. All right, there should be a big credential button there on the platform that you joined.
Yeah. Yeah, Anthony.
Make sure you're popping that. And that you're using, right, the web version, right, download, iPhone, whatever it is you decide to go on. But that, yeah, make sure you're using that. And other than that, you just have to email in if those credentials are not working. Maybe tell us a little bit more about what's going on there. But you have to download the app or use the web version, click on the credentials there, and get to her.
All right, guys, can we get a drop here now? Let's see if we get it.
Yeah, the credentials button's in the top right if you're looking for it when you're in your little page there.
Yeah, Anthony, let us know if you're still having issues there. Also, in the same window that you're getting your credentials on the bottom right, you can go ahead and click a trouble ticket and start like asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah, but usually I've never had a problem once the remember
never.
I think everything's case sensitive and all that. So there's little buttons next to the
Copy and
username
paste,
and password.
right? Copy and paste it. Don't try to do it yourself, right?
I don't if I type it, I'll screw it up. So I just copy with those buttons. So
all right, guys, now we're looking good. Now we're starting to go for the breakdown. So at this point, I'm going to take, no matter what, a 10 tick here into the breakdown, no matter what. Now I'm putting a stop into the green, but really looking for it to start breaking down towards the 20s. So that would mean Apple breaking the 192 here and then going towards maybe the 190. I don't think it'll maybe break the low of the 930 open, which is 188, but I wouldn't mind a move to 190, taking the profits and running. Yeah, SPY kind of holding in now, so you got to be careful for that bounce here. Might take my money and run if it bounces towards it. Stops at 2029 for me. VIX starting to come down. That's also a sign for me to just be careful there, right? The idea is to really start getting in the right direction with a new E valve. The number one thing that you can do that can give you an advantage is just have a good green day to start it off.
yeah. Yeah, and what I learned by taking these evals is just take the amount of trades you want to have that have to go wrong in a row to fail you, and then divide that up and take those. And then what happens is as you get closer and closer to passing the eval, that size will just increase because you have more trades, right? So if you have $1,000 risk, maybe you start with you're risking $50 a trade. And then when you have $2,000 risk, well, now you can risk $100 a trade. And then when you have $3,000 risk, you can risk, and so on and so forth. To size up, having a plan to size up when things are doing well and to size down when things are doing poorly is of the utmost importance. So yeah, we're well below the pre-market low now, that 531 area on the SPY. So as long as we're below that, I think it's kind of guilty until proven innocent on things.
There we go.
Waiting for the other way around.
Good action there. Let's SPY right back down. VIX right back on the 9 EMA. So now I just canceled my stop loss. I'll still stop out break even if I need to, but looking to see if we break through the 20 now on AAPU. Of course, that's Apple breaking 192. That's why I have Apple in the front here. A lot of times when I'm trading these leverage, I put the real vehicle, what I'm trading on the screen and just focus on that, right? Like I'm essentially doing a comparison. Should be the same action. But what did I see on this to get me excited? This is kind of inverse head and shoulders pattern where we made this little wick up here. That seemed to me like the right head, the right shoulder. Now it needs to break the neckline, which is right underneath here. And so it needs to break that like kind of 191.50 area if I'm really going to get that move to 190. Of course, short-term pattern here, but just kind of bringing it in of what it is that I'm seeing.
DJT and it is working out well.
SPY hasn't been wanting to break here, so we could come back really quick here, guys. I'm starting to get that action right back quickly.
Yeah, DJT working out now. Love is working out. VERO is flat. So far, one winner locked in, and then up a bit on all the rest, but nothing crazy.
Coming back real quick here. I have my break even stop here, guys. I even wanted to take the profits there, but it just like the spread just widened out and I wouldn't be able to get the 10 cents. So just going to get my break even stop here. I can almost feel it.
SPY flirting with low. Yeah.
Just back and forth action on the SPY, right? But now what am I seeing on the SPY? I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts to bottom off that 527.60. So now I'm going to look at that 527.60s to see if it just gives us a bullish engulfing candle off of that. That's exactly what's setting up now. Would not break that low and would give us a move to like, let's say 530s or 531 on the SPY. So I'll be watching to see in the next minute what happens to the closing action here. Is it below 527 or above 530? Both actions in both ways will have me reacting different ways here. So that's what I'm going to watch there on the SPY. I'm out of the Apple. Could still get back in, but at this point, there's no reason to get back in unless it breaks a 20. Then I could go for a scalp below that. SPY, this is the action that I told you guys. That's that fourth bottom. A lot of times I look for a bullish engulfing candle, and I look for actions start holding the red close. The red close is right around this 528.70 level. Look how we just undercut it. Let's see if we put a big candle to 530 and reclaim action, right? Bullish engulfing means that you're claiming kind of the range to the left. And so I want a candle that's at least this big, but essentially trying to get above that 530.
The relative and shocking, but Apple being relatively strong to the S&P 500 today.
Really weird for me to see that, right? And so that's why I kept trying to short Apple, because the pressure is on Apple. There's no clear runway on Apple, right? There's clear runway elsewhere, but they have the biggest exposure to China. I mean, it's not little exposure, it's massive, right? And they have a real conundrum on their hands with the iPhone.
Yeah, Anthony, you got to get your credentials from there. That might be a good place to get started. But see, that's the thing. That's why I don't know anything about fundamental analysis, because I don't care. But like the clapback that I would hear right away is how much money does Apple make on services versus hardware sales versus this, that, the other thing. And that's
it's majority of the revenue is iPhone. So it's the biggest impact to the bottom line.
Yeah.
But so that's what I would say on that end.
Either priced in or definitely priced in, because otherwise why would it be beating the pants off the SPY on an intraday basis? So either the market is expecting something good to happen or priced in, but this is why I'm not smart enough to know anything about these things, because I'm with you. You think it should be getting killed, but fact is the market disagrees. So, and the market is just very rarely wrong. But yeah, if the SPY gives it up, maybe we finally get a close under.
Here comes that 192. So could have just been a bounce, got me out in Apple, and now it's going for the move there, guys. So we'll see what happens. I'll tell you one thing: the scanners and the small ones just went absolutely dead for me. So I have a scanner that's been trying to look for stocks that are up more than 5% from the open, and different things that I have attached to that. Been working some more coded scanners there on TC, trying to push to try to find some of these plays. But right now it's showing me literally only one, and it's a 3-cent stock, so it doesn't even matter, essentially.
Yeah.
There's the move on Apple that I was looking for, which is the cut to 20s. But just got cut out literally at the top. Like, I'm sure I wasn't the only one that saw that pattern. Got cut out at 2040, literally went up to 2041. So it's just how it is sometimes. But hey, at least I took the profits, and that's what matters today. It's not about getting everything right. It's about making money.
Yeah, SPY made a new low, intraday low, and then bouncing a bit. So yeah, everything's pulling back a bit, and it makes sense. It's such a massive move.
Inside day on a lot of stocks.
Yeah, well, definitely going to be an inside day. Well, I shouldn't say anything could happen, but most likely an inside day on the SPY.
Yeah, well, I mean, on a lot of stocks overall, right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah, because most will end
Apple,
up
right? Nvidia, right? Like, I think we got to be looking for this action, and it actually makes sense, right? For not to take out the lows, but not to take out the high, right? And I think we got to continue to watch to see that action. That's why I think today is one of those days where it's just going to be sideways action. It's a tough day. Not just one.
Well, and right, if you think about, again, most of these stocks that you mentioned,
Steph.
One of these crazy ones, but yeah, most of the stocks you mentioned are in the S&P 500, so they're going to be correlated with the S&P 500. For us to make a new high of the day, we need another 4% up move from here, and to get outside yesterday's low, we need a 7% down move. So again, I would not be at all shocked if the next couple weeks exists inside of this range of the S&P 500 for last time. That was just again, I looked at it, and this is something we can give you some bear food in a minute. I'll grab this tweet that I did. But there's only 2 other instances that I could find, unless you went back to like 1937 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
In recent past that we had a day that big, right? So that's how rare it is. It's just now, let's see if I can find it. But both of these instances are not ideal. So let's grab them. So this is one. I was just going back. I was doing some quant work on my systems. So this is one. So the purple line is the day that we had a bigger than 10% down move. That ended up making a new low. That was in 2000, somewhere around that. And then this one was around, I think, 2008. And you can see the same thing. So that was the purple line there is the other down move right there. So that was the other 10% up move. So that led to a drift up overall, but in both cases we made prior lows. Now that's 2 names in the studies, but in both of those cases, new lows came in. So certainly could happen, right? But again, yeah, I wouldn't be really trading aggressively on either side of the market just here, because again, 5% up move to make new highs and a 7% down move to make new lows. This is how crazy the action was yesterday.
AREB, the one stock that got away from the scanners today, that thing has been making a jump. I was looking at it, potentially shorting it here around the 1178, guys. I'm not going to take the trade, but man, that's another rocket. There's been some rockets there. The thing about this one is that it got away from the scanner. It didn't even come in there because the way that it was doing the action, but it's been holding in there. AREB. We'll see if it does go and does the breakdown. The one thing that gave me the sign of maybe a short, this thing has halted 1, 2, 3, 4 times on the upside. Still no down halt. A lot of times when we get those kinds of halts, we'll get multiple halts. We'll get down halts also, and then an up halt maybe again after that. But still not on a down halt just yet. Could go into a halt now. I mean, this thing has been halting easily when it does a $1.50 move, and you're seeing it now starting to make a move. We'll see if it goes and makes a down halt move, which is right around here in a quick manner. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was yeah. So far we're just chopping, right? So in a little bit of an uptick down, a little bit of uptick in the market. Again, it's one of those, I have to keep using this measure tool because I keep saying, the market hasn't done anything. Well, yeah, the SPY is down 3.6% today. So right, it's a huge volatile nothing,
This one had been a bad short, guys. It's already in the halt, but the only way I come after these is after I see 3 halts. Then I start to really pay attention to it, but I saw it late. So I hate when I get to a candle like right here. Like if I get to this candle here, it's a little bit different than when I get to the candle on the down action. So we'll see what happens there. AREB starting to pull back. Another one that was mentioned, SXTP. I just couldn't trust it, man. Very, very low action for the amount of volume that's come in this one. So my thing is, even though it's gotten a ton of volume, it's on up moves, it's only going about 25 cents. So that's not enough for me here. We'll see what happens. SXTP, not a bad looking daily, but just doesn't seem too exciting for me. There's some smaller ones out there.
Yeah, I'm just going through the different sectors out there, and just nothing really, right? Again, and nothing in comparison to yesterday. There's WGMI, which is your miners that are down 6%, but that's just like still halfway through yesterday's range. XSD, which is our semiconductors, are down 8%, but that's still just halfway inside yesterday's range. So these moves from a percentage basis are nuts. However, they're just not moving. One thing that's interesting, MSOS up 5% today. That is rare to see weed doing well. And not only that, it is up
There was
pretty good from the open too.
I got you. There was a Congress Senate hearing yesterday. So there was a hearing on hemp that was given yesterday. Could be given a little bit of a lift. So I keep up with.
You guys still have hemp banned on there?
We actually don't have hemp banned. They're trying to ban it. So the problem is that what happens is there's this loophole in the hemp law, which is causing major effects on cannabis companies overall. So in cannabis, right, the actual form of cannabis, right, the form that everyone knows is THC, right? But there's THCA and there's THC, right? So THC is the active psychoactive chemical. THCA is a non-psychoactive chemical that is only activated when it's burned. So essentially, you can get around the laws of THC by having something high in THCA, which is essentially the same kind of cannabis that you would get in a dispensary, but it's only considered illegal once burned.
Okay. See, I'm just the Canadian.
There you go,
here
Michael. There you go, Michael.
Well, because like hemp is so good, it can do so much stuff. It's so good for you. Like
that's the problem. And so what was given yesterday, and I even said it on I know a couple of guys. I know guys that literally go and try to bash on these representatives from us to actually help the industry. And someone came on that was an expert, right? And it's on the opposite side, but then they only wanted to talk about these THCA products instead of understanding that, hey, it's not that this gave us this, it's that we need to regulate. Regulation is important, whether you're in hemp, whether you're in, the glass industry, lithium industry. Regulation is needed nowadays. People cut strings and cut corners to make money. Without regulation, you get what? Health concerns a lot of the times. In this case, that should be the prime concern. Should be not having THCA out there on gas stations where, people can buy them. That shouldn't be allowed, right? And so the focus should be that. But of course, the focus gets off of that and it gets more about different things. That's just the way that the world battles. It doesn't focus on the things that are important. Let's just say that much.
Just why?
SPY giving us a little lift off, man. We held through that low there. We were holding in on the 38.2% retracement level. I'm just trying to be patient. Remember what we talked about, 1030 and getting out of that. What has happened the first hour? It did go down, but it didn't go down much. And it's just been a little bit of a chop there. The VIX is actually up pretty kind of on the top end. The TLT kind of hanging out here. Let's see what happens past 1030. It's been like this. It's the lunch algos making the money, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm tempted to maybe take another shot on the SPY if we get back through that kind of 531 area. Because yes, we broke it, but we didn't move too much. But part of me thinks that it's going to be chop, right? We're going to probably get back over 531 and back to VWAP and then hang out there all day. So I think just the stop would have to be too far away, which just wouldn't make the risk reward worth it, which is something you always have to consider. It's not whether or not you'll be right. It's whether your risk is going to be worth it or not. So DJT, I'm close to covering here. Not quite at the 2-day VWAP, but it's just been grinding lower. So it's been
that's a grinder,
trade,
man.
And got very close to a stop out. Just up on it. And again, it feels like one of those days that I just want to take my money and just wrap up and then move on from there. But yeah, STZ was good. DJT was good. LOV has done absolutely nothing. Love sack, whatever the heck this thing is.
The love sack.
No idea what.
You don't know what the love sacks are, bro? They're super comfortable. The only thing is it's a freaking like $400, $500 beanbag.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't. Must be a Yankee thing. I've never heard of a $500 beanbag.
Right? I
Thing you
mean,
sit into when you're stoned, and just $500. Yeah, you
That's-
guys need a crash down there. You got
I
too much
got
money
you,
floating
Michael.
around if
I
you're
got
buying
you, my
those.
friend. Yeah, right. The love sack.
Yeah, that was just on the
Nah,
trade.
they got couches also, I think, but it's just funny, man. The things that we buy.
And the last is VERO, which I'm long, and it just hasn't really moved, and that's just kind of it's just hanging out, right? So
Yeah.
Venus Concept Inc., whatever this thing. But yeah, SPY's making its way back to try to break pre-market lows there. Trying.
Yeah, man.
I know. Man, if we break yesterday's high, which would be like a 5% up move from here, which would only get us positive on the day, you find your local bear, give him a hug, give him a call.
I mean, look at the action from here at 1023. Remember, we did do this wick down at 27. That was the fake out, right? The liquidity move, right? Then from the liquidity, it's been straight move up. So if I just like say, forget everything over here, just focus on the action here. As long as we can hold the 90 MA, maybe we can start to trend upwards. So.
And that feels very buy programmy, right? Just when you see candles like that just green candle after green candle after green, like it just seems,
look what's leading in the last 5 minutes. Consumer cyclical, right? And look at the action. It's very similar to the SPY, right? So I would agree with you, my friend. And look at the technology index, very similar, right? So basic materials starting to grind higher, everything grinding higher, industrials starting to grind higher, even energy grinding higher, healthcare starting to push up. We'll see if financials start to push up, right? And so just looking through everything, and I'm starting to see grinds higher above the 90 MAs. Let's see if this can really start to drive. Let's see what's doing well in cyclicals here. See what's starting to turn here. Some of these are down big. Like footwear is down like -5% from the open. So some of these names really got hit. Some of these names really pulled back, like Crocs. Some of these names on Nike down 4%.
We got a winner thanking us for the 25K eval. Well, you earned it, bud.
Hey, congratulations, man.
3 days, big deal. Yeah.
Congratulations, man. Definitely want to give you a shout out. Way to take it, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to pass an eval in 3 days is not an easy task. Right?
Yeah, no, and then you can now have fun with that 20,000, 25,000 eval. Maybe test a new strategy, whatever it may be for you, right? Use it wisely, have some fun, learn, right? That's what I always say. Each eval should help you learn something. If it's not, then it's not worth it, guys. Make sure that you're learning. Make sure you're learning through the process, guys. If you're not learning and getting better, then you're just trying to push way too much, right? Remember, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Make sure that you think about it like that.
Another winner. We got some winners in here. 5K.
I don't want to take a speedboat ride. I want to take a cruise to that success.
That's great. Good job, guys. What a time to have that contest, right? Obviously, we had no way of knowing that it would be a couple of like
3 days.
Epic days.
It was the 3-day most epic buy the dip opportunity in history, and we called it a competition. Hey, shout out to whoever thought about that on Trade the Pool. Give them a little wink. Shout out to them out there.
Well, and next time we do a competition, maybe a little bit of warning, because maybe we should have been buying the dips in our real account. Right? If we're going to turn on these competition, crazy things are going to happen.
I mean, I think about it this way. I had multiple opportunities in the last 2 days with the sizing that I had on. If I made it through, those were $20,000 trades both days. 2 days in a row.
Wow. Yeah, there is crazy
There was
time.
money to be made, right? It's just more,
yeah.
how can we do it, right? And then maybe figuring out a way to not be so greedy so that you could get that cash. Maybe it wasn't the 20. Maybe it was splitting that in half to 10, right? But there was definitely money to be made. And I think that the important part is you needed to be able to be low accurate, waiting for the winner, the bigger one, right?
Yeah.
And that is tough as a trader, to be 20% accurate and then still make a hell of a lot of money, right? It's just about risk to return a lot of the times, guys, and you have to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's about waiting and being patient. That's what it was. It's about patience towards the later part of the day, middle part of the day. And what I've noticed more and more is in times of uncertainty, the middle part of the day and the end part of the trading day matter 10 times more than the opening action. The opening action is used to drive emotions. And so in times of uncertainty, just might make sense to avoid the open.
Yeah, well, again, I know a lot of traders that do that all the time. I told you one of the most successful day traders I know, and part of this is just his laziness. He lives in the West Coast, so he ignores.
Just wakes
he gets
up later. Just wakes
way
up
after.
later.
Yeah, he gets up and he doesn't trade till afternoon. So, like 1 Eastern is when he'll start to place trades, and he loves it because he's like, I have the whole morning. I get to look at everything that's happened in the morning, all the craziness. He picks a spot on 3 or 4 trades. He sets out the orders and then he just walks away, right? And then closes them on the close. And so it's an interesting way to do it. I love it. I love any time that someone starts doing the complete opposite of the conventional wisdom, which is that you have to be super active off the open. And what he does a lot of fading of these really overextended moves. So he looks for stocks that from the open are up 20, 30, 40% or down 20, 30, 40%. And then he's just got a strategy to play those reversals, basically looking for retail to take their profits into the end of the day. And just, again, completely sitting out the morning. And he feels great. He's like, right, everyone else is stressing all morning. He's like, I'm getting up and going to the gym and doing whatever I want, sit down at noon and take a couple
Starting
shots.
to look better out there, guys. It's starting to look better.
Yeah, that 531
shots now.
531 is a big deal. So we tapped that once and we pulled off it, and now we're back to it. So
Coin again, looking interesting.
If we're talking to the most hilarious outcome would be us taking out the high of yesterday and just ripping. That would be the funniest. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be the funniest outcome. There'd be so many people caught off guard that probably shorted into today and just said, okay, the market needs to breathe a little bit. The way to hurt them the most would just be to rip it through that high. And can we say about how Fartcoin led everything yesterday? I was joking when I was on stream. I remember bringing up the chart, but even when the world was coming to an end,
should have YOLO'd, man. Put it in the Roth.
I told you I have an unreasonable amount of Fartcoin.
The fart coin, man. The fart coin.
I have the five figures into Fartcoin, which again is just absolutely hilarious to me. But yeah, we were talking about, hey, it was holding up well. It was strong even before the announcement happened. Ended up having a 50% up day yesterday. So again, it's funny monetarily wise. I think this is the position that made me the most money yesterday. It was just I don't even know what world I'm totally buying into simulation theory at this point.
It's a matrix, man. We're living in the matrix, whether you want to or not.
This thing
living in a simulation, man. When bear markets can come in 2 weeks and get erased in 10 milliseconds, yeah. We're in a simulation, guys. We're living the simulation here.
So, right, if you look at the 51 or the 1618 extension, which is generally just a target for things move, that puts us at $4 a share. Again, I'll be a very happy man. I already have the money pegged of what I'm going to buy if we get up there, and I'll show you guys. It'll be hilarious. But
gold taking off. Gold trade taking off here. I'm seeing that jump up, guys. AU now almost at 39s. Straight up move there. Gold making moves. I also would take a look at silver now with that move, right? Silver Can it do the move? Not looking too bad there. Not looking too bad. I kind of like AG to see if it maybe holds 6 and then makes a move above 610. But just looking into with silver play to kind of go after, right? You also got MAG.
Told by my crazy prepper friends, if you're going to trade a silver ETF, you do PSLV as opposed to SLV, because PSLV holds the physical asset.
Yeah, the physical. Yeah.
And then SLV holds basically futures contracts. So that might be one to take a look at.
Apple holding in, guys. Apple holding in. That's the weird sign. That to me, I think Apple's a good indicator today to watch, because if the pressure is on any stock, I think it's on Apple, right? It's still not, their tariffs have not gotten lifted, yet the stock is lifted. So keep watching that. I think it's important.
And this is the area I was watching here in the SPY. We're rejecting it again, at least for now. Again, this is just the pre-market low. It was the low back here, it was low over here, it was low here. It was low. I didn't have to get too fancy with it. We continue to kind of pop from that level. So we can get through there. That, again, the funniest outcome, the most hilarious outcome is us breaking all the way up here at 448. But that's a percentage move.
I think you continue to watch maybe the I can't live without trade to see how that kind of works. Walmart doing really well for putting a warning out yesterday. So just stating that, right? People are not going to go away from Walmart. And if the tariffs are going to go down, it's just going to be a troubled economic cycle. Well, Walmart can still do really good in that environment.
And the beauty, if the tariffs go down, I think what everyone's so excited about is that if the tariffs go down and then you start to see a little bit of economic slowdown, well, the Fed's got a lot of ammo they can play with. They can drop rates tons. But the problem with having the tariffs being inflationary and then having the economy being recessionary, it really, kind of screwed the Fed. So everyone, I think, is looking at it saying, okay, we can deal with a normal economic slowdown. We do it all the time. It's very easy. You drop interest rates a point or two, and all of a sudden that economic slowdown goes away and everyone's fine. But to do that, again, the tariffs need to be lifted, just because you can't lower interest rates in a tariff environment, which is an inflationary environment. You just can't do it. So
name that I would keep a watch. I'm watching ACI. I think it's a very important name to watch. And watching Albertsons as a potential stock that could get a run. I've talked about this on Trader TV on Tuesday with Kroger. And just looking for trades that I think could do well in a tough environment. It's Kroger, ACI, Walmart, Costco, all doing really well. ACI, I think, hasn't really made the move, but it's one that I'm going to continue to watch. One of the things that has happened at ACI, of course, it didn't do the merger that it wanted to do, but it has made a lot of investments into e-commerce, online kind of aspects. So I think this could turn things around. Of course, it was supposed to go with Kroger and kind of turn things around. But what have I seen? I've seen a ton of volume pickup on ACI, telling me more and more, this seems more like a bet of like a Warren Buffett or style investor, which is looking into the fundamentals, thinking that things could get profitable and start to turn around the business. ACI, interesting trade there. Walmart, of course, ripping. Costco ripping. Names definitely continue to watch there. Look how Costco went from 900 to 1,000 right back up. So Costco always seems like an interesting bet off of monthly support or weekly support. And that's exactly what happened here in Costco. People betting off the monthly around the 900 level and right back to the upside. I see it happen a lot of times.
Always gets me, man. Just imagine. Hey, you bought this thing as it made new highs in 1989. I was too busy being 4. It's at 31,000.
Michael, I still look at this as like, man, sometimes you can pick the wrong job to work as when you're young. You should have definitely been working at Costco, getting the stock match, putting literally 50% of the money you were making as a kid into that. And today you would be looking at back and being like, yep, that's what I'm talking about. And another one, AutoZone. That's the other one that I look back at, like this similar chart. And I'm like, dude, how are the workers not getting as much as they can of this stock?
Wow.
right? Like
So-
you would literally make yourself a millionaire from making like maybe $50,000 if you just invested your money in this thing.
40% gain.
It's crazy, right? I mean, it's no little gain there. And
Yeah.
charts like this tell you more and more that you should be looking at investments on stocks like this that are continuing to see upside potential and continuing to drive higher. Another big story like that in our lifetime is Booking. Booking is definitely another one like that too, right? Booking Holding. It's a stock that you can't even trade now. Well, at least it's a lot of people feel that way because it's just too expensive. Burke, similar, too expensive, and people don't go after it. But does it keep performing? I mean, it does, man.
Well, especially now, like I hate I wish I could find everyone who's like, I don't want to trade stocks over a certain dollar value and just like sit down with them for a few minutes because it doesn't matter, right? It just
Yeah.
you can get fractional shares now. You could buy one, you know, 1%
Hundredth.
of right,
100th
1/100th of a whatever. You could you could work your way up to one share over time. Like it doesn't. It's all about percentage gains. It's not about if you're putting
gotta know.
$10,000 into something. It's whether it's one share or a million share. It doesn't matter.
So one thing that I think is important there, a little learning lesson for all those guys out there that probably have young kids out there is tell them to look into stock purchasing programs wherever you're working. And tell them to also maybe look at a company that you think will really kick ass in the next 10 years, right? Because working at those companies might not give you the most profits of like how much they're paying their workers, but you couldn't get the share program and start to really kind of boost your outlook on life, right? I mean, I think it's something definitely to think about, guys. Getting a lot of love in the chat and a lot of action in there. That's what I love to hear, guys. Like always, we like to talk about different things, and I think it's really interesting to think about that perspective. I always think about the
right, and we
odds
talk about this all the time. When the market's going crazy and trading is abound and there's a lot to do, we're usually laser focused when the market's moving. But like we talked about, right off the open, we both expect this kind of action today. Not a lot, right? Not a lot happening. So, and it's probably going to be that way all day. Again, the funniest outcome is us making a new high, but there's such a low probability that we're going to rally another 6% from here to get there. I'm not kind of betting on that one way or the other. So, but yeah, as much as I think these things are scams, which I do think these things are scams, it seems like none of these companies actually make anything. I don't know. It's getting real tight here on Rigetti, and it's starting to just pop out of this. So I've got my eyes on it. I mean, it could be one of those irrational, longer than you can remain solvent things. We could get a little pop into the, maybe challenge highs here is at double. So that's pretty wild. Stop at lows here. It's still like a 30% drawdown. You'd have to go to take that. But it's an interesting idea. I'm looking for a lot of things like this that held up okay. Just using the 200-day moving average, for example, held up okay in the down markets and now are performing pretty good and starting to break out. And these are potential swings. So yeah, Rigetti's one of those for sure.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to take a shot here on an Apple short here. We'll see what happens here. If we can start to see the SPY kind of come down. I'm not seeing it kind of get back up there and hold here. And so part of me is thinking that we might just come back and test the support here. If we come and test the support, maybe I can get the trade that I've been looking for in Apple. So I'm going to take the shot here and see what happens.
Yeah, trying to get back under VWAP. But Farcoin's rallying a bit, so the real risk on market indicator is telling us to buy stuff. Just nuts.
I pretty much just want to risk a little bit of what I've made today. So I'm gonna risk a decent amount. I'll risk like $30 on this and just see if I can get the trade, right? Regardless, I end up in the green, but I want to take a shot at least towards the end of the day here. And what did I say? after that 1030 spot, right? Now we're 1044. We've seen trends in the market hold. We haven't just seen a ripping rally back. And that tells me more and more that we could be more into that inside day, maybe a little bit further leak, not an insane leak I'm expecting here, but just a little bit to just try to keep the chop going, right? So you gave a little bit of a lift. Now you come back down, a little bit of a lift. And I think that we're going to play this game all day long. And that's why I think it's so important to look towards the close to see if the VIX just collapses towards the close. That's part of what I'll be watching for, right? Do we get some kind of VIX collapse at the end of the day? So big push at the end of the day is what I'm looking for, to see if the big boys just come back in after the chop. All right, we'll see what happens here. VWAP right back in on Apple.
Yeah, holding that VWAP there.
It's just sitting there on the VWAP and a lot of stocks there. So we'll see what happens. SPY, though, rejected VWAP and still on the lower end. Never got above VWAP, really. And so that's another reason why I'm still in a little bit of pullback look. Short term, not looking for big collapse, but trying to jump on something that could see a little bit of a move. Another name that I wanted to watch today was Dell. It's kind of been sideways here. I think you continue to watch that name because it took such a beating. And it still has exposure. You know what I mean? It still has giant exposure to China too. So it's just one name to watch there. But big day yesterday. I mean, 16% day.
Yeah, what a big, good relative weakness, right? In this versus the, and I'm using the 2-day VWAP to basically show how much of yesterday's craziness did it retrace. And yeah, Dell is definitely on the weaker side of things. This cannabis ETF just continues to grind higher, so it's definitely something I want to take a look at.
All right, let's see if I can get that move. Can the SPY, is it going to hold the 9 EMA on the 5 here? We're going to reject it. I think it's a big look if you break 527, but we'll see what happens there. TLT's been sideways here, just holding on. We'll see what happens. How the bonds looking there. I'm not sure if we're seeing any action there.
Yeah, haven't moved all day. Still inside the first 30-minute range.
That AREB, sometimes I need to make an account, like an account to try to start capitalizing on these. I think it would be very, very small sizing that I would have to take these. But man, I sometimes call these really good, where like this one was a pretty dang good look off of this, 4 kind of outlook. You start to see the breakdown. And right here, it bounced towards 12. I just wanted to risk off the top end of the day. It would have been about 50-cent risk. So you need to be able to use that, right? But from even there towards where we are now after the down holds that have happened, I mean, this thing is down $2.6. So just got to think risk and return wise, right? If I can make 2 points or 2.5 points, can I risk 0.5? Things like that.
Yeah, there's I talked to a lot of successful traders who do just this. That's their whole mission and plan, is just waiting for these junky names that just get too crazy to go down.
Yeah,
it's not for me, but good luck. But yeah, a lot of people works really well.
Yeah. And especially on a platform like us, right? They are not so worried about the borrowing costs. That's the major aspect that I think gives you the advantage here, is that you're not having to worry of, well, this cost me so much to even take the trade, right? So things like that. All right, guys, we'll see if the SPY can break the 527s now. We're going down pretty quickly here, but it's not a big breakdown. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I still think this is just a leak type of on the daily, right? Where are we going to get to? Is it the 50% spot? That puts us down towards like 523, 524s. And I feel like that makes sense. Retrace 50% of the rally and then look to see if the big boys come back in. That's what I'll be looking at in swing sense, right?
Yeah, again, this kind of chop is exactly what we thought was going to happen. Again, I would love just to turn and have it rip to new highs today, because I think it'd be hilarious. And I'm long a bunch of stuff, but it's just not this back and forth. This back and forth action, I think, again, not just today, I think for in the next couple of weeks, barring some, and he wakes up, changes his mind again, and wants to throw tariffs on anything, or some sort of deal with China or something. I think we are going to be in this kind of chop slop type action, just because we've had such a big move. There's going to be so many people looking to take profits, and so many people looking to buy the dip. So every time we dip, there'll be buyers. Every time we rally, there'll be sellers, and it will just make this mess go on, unfortunately, for probably quite a bit longer. So we just kind of sit and we wait, right? We take our shots. I took my couple trades today. DJT worked and got a couple bucks out of that. And STZ worked. So I got a little bit of that. This VERO is not doing anything. So that's no fun. And then same with Love. Love really hasn't done anything either. So probably just kill those as when the stream comes to an end, and just take my 2 winners, and the other ones are just kind of whatever, and just walk away for the day. And that's, I think, going to be the game plan for the next week or so. Take a couple bucks and just move on. Wild action.
All right, guys. So I'll show you guys what I'm seeing on Apple's chart here. Kind of drew it out on the 15 minutes. So I could show you guys it here. So when I look into this chart here, if I zoom in on the recent action here, especially this action here, that's where I'm looking at it. I'll show you guys it here. I drew it on this one. So you guys can see how we rejected that area up here. So this would be the area where I think, you can go green and really kind of drive higher. But we kept rejecting that area, and now we're starting to break back below the VWAP here. Support could be right off of this kind of closing action in the morning. So I'm looking to see if we can just break back towards this low. If we break back towards this low, yeah, that could be that in between kind of candle on the hourly where we start to go back into this spot 188.44s. But if you actually look at it, I mean, overall, it's still a bullish pattern, right? We're holding in, but we're pulling back, right? That's what I see. Overall bullish pattern, but still pulling back on the day.
Yeah, everything's pulling back just a bit. Again, the SPY is still trapped under that pre-market low. Every time we try to break it, there's a seller there. So again, until we got a big move, just not interested in,
all right, there
taking anything alongside.
All right, guys. Today might be that day where I just take the money and run here, but we'll see what happens. Not a bad little move on this. I think the SPY could still bounce back towards where I'm at, so I might just take the cash here and then look to see if I get a bounce to play again. But I'm probably just going to take the cash and run here, guys, especially on the first day of the account. I'm just trying to make money and keep it going, right? Especially the first day. I think it's so important to get a cushion. I took the money there, guys. We'll see what happens. Could put a stop maybe at the 20 and then just look to see it, let it work. But taking the cash there, guys, not a bad trade there. We'll look to see if we still get a little bit of leak. We might just get a bounce here off of the lows. So didn't want to be kind of chasing too much there. We'll see what happens there if the SPY breaks down there. VIX kind of getting a little bit of a jump to 75. This is why I'll be watching later in the day to see if the VIX gets back into an area where it's like a trend line approach and then just rejects and doesn't come back to this level, right? That's where we can get a VIX kind of meltdown look, right? So we're getting this trend line approach where it starts to look a little bullish, but if it can't make it past this 80 and it starts to head right back towards 62, I think you can start seeing that meltdown look where the VIX starts making its way back to 60s and 40s, at least the VXX, right? Overall, VIX would just be a similar move. It would just be kind of a little bit different, right? So you can also look at the VIXY. It's very similar setup, right? Trying to get back there. We'll see what happens on this one.
Yeah, SPY just continuing to bleed, but when we pull back into prior day's low, there's buyers there. So it's again just this back and forth type action.
It was interesting to see Nike drop that much, right? Nike, quick drop on Nike. That thing's been really weak today. Retail, kind of really weak. Interesting to see that. There are some names that held. I think Burke held. Yeah, Burke is holding pretty well. But some of these names really came down.
This goes back to the poor interns that maybe they got maybe they got let out of the Goldman basement for just a minute, but yeah, they're probably shoved back down there and said, okay, now you got to redo all your models. The tariffs have changed again.
Oh,
So you need
good
to go
Lord.
through
Can you
every
imagine?
stock, and
Can,
it is
can you
a
imagine
rough time to be an
getting that
investment banker.
email? Can you imagine getting that email this morning and being
Yeah.
like, well, all the work you did yesterday, we appreciate all that work, but it's all in the
Yeah.
trash now. And we're
Get
doing
your ass
something
back
else.
there. Yeah. Now you got to go through every shoe company that's ever existed, and I need to know, like, I don't know where they get their glue from. Does that come from China? Where do they get the sole? Where do they get the laces from? Where do all like and there's a whole army of them down there. And I know because I've been in these funds. I've been in these buildings. They scoop these guys right out of university, and they call them mushrooms, right? We keep you in the dark and feed you shit. And it's just they throw them in the basement. And they go, listen, we've got this monumental project that has to be super manual. More and more of this will get passed off to AI as the as they get better, but still you'd still want a human being going over them, right? So just go and dump a financial report in there, ask them where they source these things from. But quite often it's really hard to figure it out, right? It's you need to go through like 5 or 6 different, there's steps removed. Like it's like the whole Kevin Bacon thing. Like how many steps removed are you from China, right? Because you might say you get all your shoe parts from Thailand, but where do they get their raw materials from? Where do they get, right? So it's, again, I am so glad that I decided to become a technician and a quant, because I don't have to care about any of those things. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have to worry in great detail about all these things just to find which stocks are going to be the tariff winners, which are going to be the tariff losers, all that.
That's why you got to have them. You got to have them. He's my quantitative, my math specialist. Right. He's my quant. I don't do decisions. I let him do the math.
Yep, that's why. And it is a much better life, I'll tell you, as someone who did the discretionary trading thing for years and slowly got more systematic. It is how you want to live life.
You know what? We're gonna have to do a little bit of a team competition. We've talked about this in the background, guys. A team trading competition. We might have to do it. We might have to do it just to have some fun. All right.
Wait till auto trading. Let's wait till we get the auto trading up, and then I'll go. I'll build like 10 different models, and I'll just
let's go. Apple continuing to fade. The SPY going for that 527 move. Now going for those lows. We'll see if it breaks the low, right? You could get an undercut and a little bit of a pushback, but Apple breaking down there. Maybe took a little bit too fast cash, but I'm not mad. I'm taking cash. That's what matters, especially after a rough time. One of the things for certain after you've been having a rut, one of the number one ways to end the rut, get green on the screen. And it's not worrying so much about getting a lot of green, right? I think that's what usually happens a lot of the times when you're in rut. You're trying to work your way back. One of the best ways to do it, just give yourself a green day and not push it, right? And that's the one thing that I feel a lot of traders do. Even when they're struggling, they'll go and have a good trade, but then they're like, I got it back. I got this. No, that's usually what it is, and is that you can fall into a good winning trade every now and then, guys. And so don't forget that sometimes luck has something to do with your trading also, guys. And so you have to sometimes just be like, hey, I just want to take a win today. And taking the win sometimes is a good kind of things for your confidence, and especially when you're starting to see a little bit of a struggle, right? So we'll look to see what happens. RSI now really kind of showing that dip there on Apple. Now we're going back to that 190. We could take out that low. And then the trade that I was going after, AAPU, now starting to come down to that 1950s level, right? What helped me today? Well, waiting to get through that 1030 time, right? If I wouldn't waited to that 1030 time, I would have got stopped out on Apple. Guaranteed, guys, guaranteed. So, hey, just goes to show me more and more that the first hour of the day is not helping traders right now. It might be hurting traders, right? So just be careful out there, traders.
Yeah, the first hour of the day has always increased volatility, but when you already have insane volatility, playing the time with the increased volatility might not be the move. Right? When markets are slow, maybe you do a little bit more of that trading because your volatility is a little lower. But
Yep.
yeah,
And there's the SPY breaking that 527 and going back to 526. Where could we be going to? Let's see if we get back towards that 50% retracement level, right? Puts us back closer towards right around the 523 level. That's where I'll be looking to see if the market can kind of hold. If I see it holding around 523 in the afternoon and then starting to make a drive into the close, that could be a good sign that we're starting to see buying off of that retracement level, right?
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one that knows the 50% retracement levels. Of course, one of Steve's favorite, and I can tell you guys, I know multiple channels and streams that talk about 50% retracements. I like the sweet spot between the 50 and the 61.8, but that might be just because I'm technically leaned into for the golden mean. But we'll see what happens. The dogs are barking. The dogs are barking out there. So you guys be safe in the markets.
see you guys.
See you next time, team.